We should start? Okay. All right. To all of you who've stayed back to listen to us, thank you very much. I do have an exemplary panel, and the topic is so interesting, the diversity, urban diversity of housing in India. Essentially, we are going to take this conversation outside of Mumbai because we've heard so much about Mumbai, both from the previous panelists and, of course, the Minister of Housing as well of Maharashtra. So we will try and look at a couple of things. One is how do we bring more right-priced housing stock into the country, because I think that is a big agenda, and I'm not looking at housing right-priced as affordable particularly, but in sync with rising incomes. We will also look at how do we actually dovetail the housing vision with the Prime Minister's vision of Viksit Bharat, and Viksit Bharat is not Mumbai or Delhi, but it is all India. So we will look at Nagpur, we will look at beyond Pune as well. Pune is now a large city, but we will look at Pune. Atul, don't worry about it. You and Bharat are both from Pune. But yes, tier 2 cities, what's happening there, though Pune is tier 1. Correct. But Rajan, Thane is also, outside of Mumbai. In Mumbai, we can kind of look at that. Navi Mumbai, I visited yesterday. And of course, we have Nitin to tell us what's happening in construction technology and how do we make the industry more efficient. So we will try and touch upon all these topics, and I couldn't have asked for a better panel. So to all of you, a big round of applause for my panelists who made the time to share their thoughts. All right. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for being part of this discussion. And let me start with you, Amit, because you're on my immediate right. You have an all-India perspective. Give me a sense of how you're looking at expanding the market beyond tier 1 to tier 2 cities. Because I think there is growth there, but yet when we look at or we talk about numbers in real estate, the project launches, 70% of the new projects coming from large developers seem to be concentrated in the top tier cities, isn't it?
Yeah. No, thank you. And thanks for having me. I'm a little bit under the weather, so my voice is not 100%, but let me try. I think I'll give you a few data points to just set the context. We sold roughly at a country level 5.5 lakh apartment last financial year. Or last calendar year, which is actually the same number which was sold in 2007. So we went through a very interesting decade of 15 years of housing which came down in terms of number of launches. Mid of last decade, you had GST, RERA, demonetization, slowdown, which hurt the launches. And finally, we have seen 3 years of strong momentum in the sector. But 5.5 lakhs is still much smaller than what we see in some of the other markets. Like I know China is not a great example given what has happened in the housing sector there. But they sold 1.3 crores houses in 2023. So 26 times more. Obviously, they are much more organized, 36 cities compared to 10 cities and so on and so forth. But in terms of the demand, what we find is the demand for housing is omnipresent in this country. And you talked about per capita income, but in housing sector, that's a partial indicator. The right indicator is per household income. Because when you buy a house, your parents contribute, your children contribute, your spouse, your brother, families contribute. And as we have seen, there's a multiplier effect on the household income that we are seeing in the industry. So overall, there is a huge demand that's there for people to own a home. Post-COVID, their desire to own a home, dil mange more in terms of the larger homes. One bedroom owners want to have two bedroom, and two bedroom owners want to have three bedroom, and so on and so forth. So I think from a demand perspective, we see a strong momentum all across, and this is not going to go away unless there are regulatory issues or pricing that goes out of control. But I think your question was more on where the supply is from a tier 2 to tier 3, and is that,
Supply will go where demand is. So I think even if you turn the question on its
yeah.
head, is the reason that the supply continues to dominate the top tier cities is because the demand also continues to come from top tier cities.
Yeah, and it's linked to job growth, it's linked to infrastructure, a lot of discussion we had, it linked to livability, etc. But I think the supply not necessarily will come from the places where the demand is, because for some of the listed developers or balanced who are trying to balance shareholder returns with, let's say, their aspiration, they're always looking to the shareholder returns. Like, my shareholders won't reward me if I don't give them threshold returns. And if you look at, you talked about some of the other cities in Maharashtra, the Aurangabad, Nasik, Nagpur, the pricing is 4,000 rupees per square foot on an average. Mumbai is on an average 20,000, Pune is 8,000. Now, your land prices can get corrected in those cities, but cost of construction doesn't come down. One third of cost of construction is linked to global commodities, steel, cement, aluminum, and so on and so forth. So they don't come down. So the ability to actually financially make them viable is constrained by what the pricing is going to be. And that's why the Prime Minister Awas Yojana 2.0, affordable housing, where you apply all the procurement levers, scale, you provide a township kind of an experience where overall cost of amenities and all the other elements comes down significantly, becomes very, very important. So overall, I think the desire is to have more tier 2, tier 3, but the pricing is still not yet there. And that's why you have to look at alternate models which will allow us to make it viable in tier 2, tier 3 cities.
Okay. So but you do have some projects in Palghar, etc., right?
Yeah,
We'll
we
come
do.
back to that
Yeah,
discussion.
yeah.
In terms of expanding cities, and that itself means you're bringing in a lot more villages in tier 2 cities into the mainstream cities,
correct,
right?
correct.
And Rajan, that leads me to a question to you. So you're an expert in the greater MMR region, right? You've seen Thane, and you're a big advocate of Thane. I know that. We had that conversation the other time. You've spoken so passionately about how one commissioner changed the face of Thane, and today Thane is beautiful. Yesterday I visited Navi Mumbai because I was so curious, and one of the NAREDCO members, Mr. Ashok Chachar, spent 6 hours with me just taking me all around Navi Mumbai to show me what's happening in that market. I was really surprised to see both Thane and Navi Mumbai, they are coming up as so much better planned cities, wider roads, more green, just better quality of life. We are all talking about quality of life, right? So give me a sense of how you see Navi Mumbai specifically. How do you see developers now operating in those markets, and do you think that they are likely to keep rising in prices as fast as what they have in the last few years, or do you think that now we will get some moderation in price rise?
Thanks, Manisha. See, Thane is the only place where every developer sitting in this August house want to have a project. That was the case. Because Thane won the Clean and Best City Award in year 2000. And we are very, very fortunate to name the few commissioners. We had T. Chandrasekhar, KP Bakshi, then Jaiswal. Now even we are fortunate, Saurabh Rao, who was to be on this panel, but unfortunately they had CS meeting, so he couldn't join. So these all people have developed in Thane so better and so meticulously, because olden days, I will tell you, Thane was especially known for only two things, which you may not be remembering or knowing also. One is jail and second one is mental hospital, where none of the people want to go. But if you today see, Thane has all the product. You can say a 300 square feet apartment is also there in Thane, and 8 to 10,000 square feet apartment is also there. So Thane might be the only city probably where from lowest category to the highest people
Where you
are.
actually see urban diversity of housing,
Yeah.
as it should be,
Yeah.
for all segments of people.
Why it happened? Because Thane developed at a time when real IT industry and telecommunication industry boomed in our country. Because Thane till 2000, to be very honest, till 1997, Thane was not in the map anywhere. But in 2000, it was one of the fastest growing city of across India. That credit goes to the politician of Thane, the developers of the Thane, and more important, the bureaucrats who came to Thane. They thought, "Nahi, this is my city and I want to develop it."
So tell me, now Navi Mumbai, do you think Navi Mumbai can shape up exactly the same, or it's going to shape differently with the airport coming? And what's your view?
Nahi, see, Navi Mumbai was overtaken by my friend sitting next to all these right-hand side people. They have overtaken, the Pune has overtaken
I'm
because,
just loving the Pune Mumbai rivalry, right? They're
yeah,
not going to let you
yeah,
both off the hook
yeah.
today.
But yeah, because of now Atal Setu and new airport coming it up, Navi Mumbai has very good potential, but it is already developed, to be very honest. Of course, the SIDCO project, which was Naina, which didn't pick up for some various reasons, of course now it will pick up.
But I mean, I was told that from Panvel to Pune, that road on which I traveled, it's literally now, there are going to be high rises. Mr. Hiranandani has a phenomenal project there. Godrej is there. There's Vadva there. And then you just cross a little bit. There are resorts which start. And then you literally go to Pune, isn't it? So Atul Chodia, the mic is over to you. All right, so we already heard the cribs in terms of how you have grabbed all the IT and the ITES, computers, software offices, and you've been the big player in that, of course. But give us a sense, I mean, this time there were a lot of concerns, and sorry, I'm wearing my journalist hat here, but essentially the city also saw flooding, and the pictures for the first time that emerged from Pune were not the greatest as we all imagined Pune would be. So give me some sense of how the city is developing. What are your concerns? And in terms of both office and housing space, what's the vision that you have as one of the leading developers there? And of course, I will then hand over to Bharat.
See, Pune is developing very fast because of pure IT take-up, IT space take-up. So we are creating almost 60 to 70,000 jobs a year. And that translates into housing demand. So it is 50%
So
of
70 to 80,000
jobs a
jobs
year.
every year.
Every year.
Right.
So because of that, the housing, it translates into housing demand, and many first-timer also, husband-wife working or single people working, they go and book a flat. As far as infrastructure is concerned, that is very sad for Pune because unfortunately, we never had good commissioners. I should not say this, but we do not have any good visionaries for the city who could develop the city well, the way Thana PCMC got developed. We try to do something for it, but somehow we are not able to achieve that. And New Bombay, as you said, New Bombay is being developed more as IT and data center. Because of undersea cables are terminating in New Bombay. So you will see a huge rise and investment in data center in around that area. Almost every big cloud company wants a space, and this space is not like 100 to 200,000 square feet. The requirements are in millions of square feet.
You don't believe that the core IT business, right, which is now Pune's very competitive and giving Bangalore a solid competition on the GCC business and, you know, IT back offices. You don't think that Navi Mumbai will compete in that space?
IT business is not only about making good buildings and cheap rent. It is all about talent. So Pune has got a lot of universities. Pune is known for its education base, and we produce almost huge amount of engineers every year. And there is a lot of influx from all the other cities of the country because of its good life, good climate, good nightlife, cheap housing. This all combination put together is driving the IT take-ups.
Okay. Bharat, take this conversation forward and give me your thoughts on, you know, it's an important market, right? It is amongst the top 7 markets of India. It's a very thriving IT hub, education hub. Infrastructure is now beginning to become a bottleneck. I a lot of people said that, look, Bangalore is not going to be the first choice for a lot of multinationals because of the traffic congestion, but I don't see that changing. Some businesses move to Hyderabad for lower per square foot rates, but Bangalore continues to thrive. How do you see Pune's future, both for commercial, and then commercial will drive housing and infrastructure support that you may need from the government to make sure that it continues to do well?
Manisha, thank you. But before Atul has covered that point largely, but to this little talk we've been having between Mumbai, Pune, and this. So
I thought we'll let that slide, but I think you're dying to speak about
yeah,
it. So
I am
go
dying
for
because
it.
I'll
Mumbai
tell you
versus
why.
Pune.
Because this is very important for us to understand the context of this conversation. That we don't have to always compete. It's not necessary that a Nasik can become a Pune or a Aurangabad can become a Nasik. We all cities, we have to create our own identities and harp on our strengths, harp on the talent pool available. Like for example, Pune, if I have to talk about it, from the Peshwa region, from Peshwa times, we were like a knowledge center. It was like a de facto capital of Maharashtra. And that transformed Pune as an educational hub. So all the talent pool which Atul was talking about, you have to go back in history and find out how this happened. So it took centuries to, for this to happen. So similarly, I'm seeing that in other towns in Maharashtra, you see Aurangabad, Jalna. I mean, 100% of steel which we consume today in our buildings comes from Jalna. So they harped on that strength of that city. Similarly, a Nasik will probably harp on food processing or, those kind of industries. So Pune need not compete with Mumbai. Mumbai need not compete with Pune. We can both have our own peaceful spaces. And I think that's the way Maharashtra will grow. That's the way residential markets will grow in every city. Today it's the time of Pune. Tomorrow it will be Nasik. Day after it might be Kolhapur, Sangli. So, that's how we'll have to decongest our cities. We'll have to spread residential development along with industrial development in other parts of Maharashtra. I think that's the way forward, and it's going to happen, and it's already happening.
Bharat, you picked up a very important point on decongesting top tier cities, right? I think it's time. So there is a debate that one is that you increase the FSI and take the cities vertical as much as possible, but we've still not figured the math on it because really then traffic and everything else, parking and infrastructure comes into play. The other is that, you decongest top tier cities and get the tier 2 cities more thriving, and Maharashtra has a host of them. There's Nagpur, there's Nashik, there's Aurangabad right up front, right? Would developers from Pune go into these markets? Because they all have their local developers who are good, but they also need scale, right? People who can work with scale. What's the sense in terms of, do you stick to your geographies?
So see, I think one very important thing which is happening in our era as developers is the connectivity is getting better and better. If you see the Samruddhi highway the minister was talking about, and you see the, everything changed for Pune when the Mumbai-Pune Expressway was done. Everything changed. Similarly, everything will change when the Nasik connectivity to Mumbai is improved. It's already there, but it needs a little improvement. So, connectivity, even with the Udan scheme of the government, with the smaller airports in Maharashtra, in small towns, connectivity is going to change the landscape of residential and industrial development across Maharashtra. And for a company which is based out of Pune, it will make a lot of sense if this connectivity will make them probably have their hub and spoke model across Maharashtra. And that's how the industrial development will spread. That's what I feel. So yes, definitely, a Pune developer, I mean, as I wouldn't want a Mumbai developer to come to Pune, I'm sure Nasik people will not want a Pune developer to come to Mumbai. But jokes apart, the residential markets across Maharashtra, I think in these smaller towns especially, they definitely will see an uptrend. And yeah, there is a great opportunity in these towns for larger developers. Yeah, I see that happening.
I mean, the appetite has to increase in terms of pricing, like Amit said, that, if you still continue to sell at 4,000 rupees per square foot, and these are price-sensitive markets, then essentially that itself changes who can be there and who can't be there. Atul, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, for your question, real estate has always been a very local business. So you cannot really travel across geography and start producing or command the rate the way you do back home. Of course, few people have done it like Godrej, Mahindras and all. But it is a big task.
It
And
is.
real
And then-
estate is
yeah.
very, it's too much of land procurement and permissions and nowadays so-called RTA activists.
Well, I must say that Oberoi Realty is now in the national capital, Gurgaon, and bolte na sher ke muh mein haath dal diya. We know the sher I'm talking about in Gurgaon market. So Prestige has reached Delhi. So these are corporate developers who always had the ambition to be in top cities. But I mean now local developers who become really big brands are now traversing. So let's see. It's going to be interesting. DLF did it.
That's what I said.
Then came back to their home territory. So it's
Yeah,
an
few-
interesting play for us.
Few corporates have done it, maybe not because they want to do it, because they want to show to their they're all listed companies, so they want to show to their investors.
They have
we are all over.
quarter-on-quarter pressure, which you don't have.
Manisha, I would like to
Yeah,
add
Amit,
here.
go ahead.
This is a difference RERA what has done. See, it has brought transparency. Yeah, because that's why all these corporates who were earlier not there in the industry, because that was a limited people who has his cloud in that area, he could do the business. But that's not the
So
anymore.
RERA has clearly made the ground far more level playing.
It has
All right,
differentiated boys from gentlemen. Yeah.
Amit.
No, I just wanted to second what Atul said, absolutely. And while some of the corporate players are national players, but if you look at their where their revenue and profits and sales comes from, it's 3 or 4, 80% comes from that. And even for us, I think, as I inherited the business last year, said we are in many cities, but we are 0.5% market share in 6 cities, 7 cities. I would rather be 3% share in 2 cities, right? So it's depth that is more important than breadth when you play in the real estate for the reasons that's been mentioned by Atul. It's a very localized business. You need to understand the customers locally, approval process, licensing process. All those things are very much local. So your global scale or national scale give you very little benefit on your procurement cost and steel and everything. But that doesn't help you because your overheads go up significantly.
Significantly too. All right. Let me pivot the conversation from the developers to another extremely important, cog in the wheel to make these buildings, which is the construction materials business. And KNest has done phenomenally well. And I think you've also been a very important sponsor for the event. So Nitin, thank you for that. Very quickly, just wanted to understand from you, everyone is talking about cost sensitivity, right? Everyone's also talking about technology in construction. You are an Indian multinational, right? So which is again such a matter of pride for all our Indian companies, and the government's pushing Indian manufacturing. So give me a sense of what you excel in and how can you as KNest drive more efficiencies in a sector which is constantly worried about costs and the end price to the customer?
Thank you, Manisha. I think aluminium formwork is the core of the entire development we are discussing. I think if Amit sir says that he's going to tier 2, tier 3, sales are fantastic, they're going to double, but without aluminium formwork, they're not doing anything. So that's the simple base. Countries grow on economies, and economics work in fast turnaround. The reason why India was not growing was people used to sell fast. What about the delivery? That is where I personally thought that, we will need an Indian company, because relying again on any other foreign player would inculcate cartelization, which was there. And growth and scale without technology is of no use. And technology, or we can call it tool, with good people, in the hands of good people, is when we can scale. So what we did was that we scaled and we became the world's largest as on today. Now what we are doing next is we are working on backward integration and trying to bring the prices further down. India had a structural problem when it comes to IS codes. IS codes in aluminium allows you a deflection or a tolerance of 2 mm, 3 mm, which is not possible in aluminium formwork. So the accuracy is a major issue, and that is where now we are stepping in. As and what Make in India actually has done for everyone is we have brought the cost down for all the foreign players. In fact, if they want to compete in India, they have to now they have come down on the pricing. So and it's a democratic market, and we really believe in democracy in that way. So pricing from my end is something which I'm always working on because I also sit on a little bit of that side of the table for real estate. So I understand that very well. One thing which we are very confident and very clear is that when the demand is there and if the raw material or the supplier system is not very good, prices go further high. We have inspired more players in India to join in the game. But yet, let's see that how this entire thing pans out. Costing is something which I think is the land, which is more of an issue. And the challenge, what we were discussing right now, Rajan sir was also speaking about. I think that is more of an issue rather than the pricing of the material because it's almost there since last 5 years, if we see. So we are glad to see that.
I was hoping, Nitin, you're going to turn around and tell all of them to get more efficient with their construction processes. Because from what I see, आज के दिन में अगर I have told my entire family, if they ever ask me, they said never buy land and build your own home, boss. In this country, construction you cannot do.
So we have two leaders of Bombay and two leaders of Pune. I don't want to speak anything about them.
All right, but you've opened a large window on discussing the biggest challenge today to creating right-priced homes. And again, I am not going to go into affordable and 50 lakh se niche or whatever. I'm going to talk about right-priced homes for the masses, which means middle class and upper middle class. If you take out, like they say, the poor of India, the rest of the 60% of 70% who can afford to buy homes at different prices. Land. Everybody I speak to says the landlords have gone nuts. Okay, to use a very simple language, the prices have gone crazy. How are you dealing with it, Amit? I mean, at what point do you say enough is enough, we can't buy anymore, but you can't say that because you are a listed company and not even if you weren't, growth has to come in any business.
I think you're absolutely right. The way the landowners price their parcels of land is they look at the highest price, they add some escalation and they say, hey, if you're going to sell it at that price, and this is the cost of construction and this is the cost of approval, you should give me this much price for the land. And in Mumbai, in Pune, and all these places, the reverse calculation is done and that's what they ask for. But the challenge in this whole logic is you're looking at the best possible scenario. And never in the industry it works out this way. And given this is an industry where you sell first and deliver 4 years later, there are all sorts of issues that could come up on the approval side, on the construction side. So the challenge that you highlighted is something that is absolutely we face every day. We solve it in 3 ways. First is never get too attached to a deal. Because when you have a deal fever, you really want this land and you are ready to negotiate up and say because you really like that, and then it starts to bring down your IRRs, your returns, and then you say, I'll sell it at a higher price. That's a slippery slope. So I think the first thing I learned in my few months at Mahindra is never get too caught up with a deal that you don't want to lose. You know, it's okay to lose a deal. And you can still sleep well because if you sign the wrong deal, you will not be able to sleep for the next 4 or 5 years, right? So
Yeah,
that's the first one. And the second one is given, and this may be true for some of my colleagues, is how do you use your balance sheet effectively, right? And the balance sheet effectively, some of us have the benefit of doing financial engineering, raising capital at lower prices that not everybody has. You can have different structures, NCDs that allows you to plug the holes on the tax leakage that typically happens. So those are the financial engineering that are possible with a strong balance sheet. And that strong balance sheet requires you to understand the regulation, the taxation, the structuring aspect, and all those things in between. And even a 50, 75, 100 basis point improvement on those fronts allows us to actually improve our IRRs really, really well. And the third part is you find ways to partner with landowners for the long term. And I think that's why I constantly seek landowners who are not there in the market for one deal. They are in the market for multiple deals. So, because when you have one land parcel, one deal, you're trying to maximize your returns, your prices for that one land parcel. So whenever that happens, I said, if it's a one deal, I think our partnership is not going to be a partnership, it's a transaction, right? So find landowners who have a desire to be associated with each other for the longest time frame. And I think that has started to work well. I'm in the early stages of discovering and stabilizing it for my firm. But many of my colleagues can talk about when you have an equitable partnership on both sides, you're able to manage the ups and downs of a cycle really well. So these are the three ways you can potentially
Very
solve.
interesting,
Yeah.
extremely interesting
Yeah.
inputs. Okay, Bharat, I'm going to come to you. Tell me what's happening in this entire, lot of cost of end product to a consumer is also approvals, right? And we continuously talk about ease of doing business. How much of it is translated on the ground? Have the
I
has the
hope the
approval
bureaucrats have
cycle?
gone.
No, we need those answers. I'm sorry, that's why you called me. Otherwise, you could have had another NAREDCO
No,
member
I was
sitting.
just checking if.
So at least answer to aap de do.
So see, I was just other day talking on one of such forums, and I was, we talk about pricing and about affordability. Since morning, I've been hearing about this affordability subject, and yes, affordability is largely compromised because of this taxes is one part, but I'll tell you honestly, we keep asking with the government about, as Rajan Bhai said, FSI or reduction in taxes. But I think one thing, if we can all ask from our authorities, which can get our housing prices down by at least 10 to 15% without taking a penny from the government's coffers, is timelines. I'm sure everybody sitting here is harassed by these timelines in this business. If we get our permissions within 3 months from buying the property, prices in across India will come down by at least 10 to 15%, and the GDP of this country will increase by 1% without asking for any benefits from the government. So I think that is one thing which
You need a national campaign. We should have had Mr. Hiranandani. So do a hashtag national campaign.
I mean, 9 months in
NAREDCO and
Maharashtra.
CREDAI should come together. for
Manisha, 9 months in Maharashtra, and I'm sad even you didn't pick up being a real estate channel. The environment permissions were shut. The reason we are seeing high prices in our business is not because the land prices have gone up or the construction prices have gone up or the profits have gone up, but because we are not getting the permissions in time. And I think that will change the entire scenario of this industry. 9 months, can you believe this?
I agree. I absolutely agree. And also, there is no surety.
Yeah, no surety.
In terms of any business must have some sort of
The
surety.
only surety we have is we have to commit the building in 5 years or 7 years in RERA. That's the only surety we have. Otherwise, everything is unsure.
All right, I've already
I
got
have
top
a
on your wish
solution
list.
for,
Atul,
Bharat.
go ahead.
The solution is a very radical solution, but where the land prices will come down, and and the customers will get on time, value for money, and immediate possession. The RERA norm should
I'm
be
holding my breath, Atul. Now go ahead.
just stop selling, just stop pre-booking. It's a product. It should be sold only post-construction. Go touch, feel, and buy.
Come on, you have the deep pockets. Not everybody else
Banks
does.
will help. Banks will help. That is one day it will happen. You watch my words, and it should
But
happen.
he's opened the window.
I
Abhi
don't-
to cat is out of the bag.
Manisha, whenever he suggests this on a Pune forum, I always tell him that don't suggest till I am the president.
Manisha, I would second Atul's this thing because what happened, see, earlier, olden days, we never used to get finance. There were investors or the private people who used to fund. Then the era came of NBFC. So now, today only, we had DMD of SBI. So all these financial institutions, there is plenty of money. And even now corporate sector is coming, all the developers have understood if we don't walk in straight line, we are going to be out of the business. So the people who have remained in the business, that too especially, each and every time in my speech, I mention we are fortunate and we are the lucky one in Corona. Because Corona gave us a rebirth, to be very honest. I will tell you, majority of the people are sitting here in this August house. They have sold whatever they have built and what was unsold post-Corona. So the time is not too far. Only the thing is that we have to start thinking from that end.
Okay. All right. So we are at the end of the discussion. Nitin, concluding remark from you in terms of how do you see the industry shaping and your role in it, and we will wrap up.
India has a world population of 17% and land 3%.
Too much population.
And 3% land. So I really see that, we going high rise is not an option. We cannot compromise on that. And that's what government is also pushing for, that you have to leave 50% space more. So I only request to all the architects that let's make skyline beautiful, but let's make it more simpler so that the developers can construct fast, sell fast, turn around the game faster. And only that, because of the scale, the economies will be in everyone's favor.
Better. I think you've done my conclusion for me, so I'm going to wrap out there. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me today.